How's that? There's my audio. What's up, everybody? How's it going out there, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Eat Meat, Make Families stream here. Mighty Morphin Power Ranger, William Shufelt, coming on in the second hour. That's going to be fun. Guys, let me know that my audio and my video are good. I'm having some stream quality issues due to poor internet service. I've got paleo internet here in Ecuador. So yeah, about 1 o'clock, I'm going to call up William Shufelt. We'll talk about some fun stuff until then, though. There's been quite a few videos that I've had pulled up that I've meant to touch on in some of the past Eat Meat, Make Families stream. And then something came up this morning. So a viewer actually sent me a link to a video, a response video to the Vegetable Police and I the other night, mostly to the Vegetable Police, by the great Goji Man. Goji Man. So if you guys don't know Goji Man, he's this amazing vegan YouTuber who he's currently in the process of purchasing his credibility through getting a master's degree, and then he intends on getting a PhD. So this guy is projected to have several letters behind his name that he can leverage for credibility as being a health guru. So we've got, where'd it go? Goji Man is here. So anyways, Goji Man made a response video. I thought this was really funny and just so exemplar of just kind of how this whole vegan YouTube crew rolls. Really, really funny. But first of all, yeah, thanks for the Vegetable Police for coming on the other day. It seems like Vegetable Police is doing great. Vegetable Police's health, his skin looks great. He's been making strength gains. He's been feeling really good. And refining his diet, figuring out his balance, right? Figuring out, I thought it was funny that just how lean of protein he was eating in the beginning, and then him slowly realizing that a carnivorous style diet, if done optimally, is going to be fueling you with fat, right? So it's not like protein is to be feared. It's not like protein is this bad thing, this goblin that is just waiting to give us cancer when we eat it, give it colon cancer, lodge inside your colon and putrefy, like all these propagandistic, hyperbolic sayings that the vegans give. But protein's not to be feared, but it's not an energy source, right? If you're eating protein, it's going to be coupled in that animal source with fat, whether it's eggs or really, really high nutrient foods like liver or bone marrow. This fat is going to be encased in protein and vice versa, right? The whole collagen network of the body is where fat tends to be stored in the animal. So you'll see this marbling in between the little ribbons of meat, and that's the energy source. So on a ketogenic diet or on a carnivorous style diet, you want to be burning fat. Vegetable Police pretty lean, so he figured out he needs to find more fat sources in his diet. So thought that was an interesting part of the conversation there with the Veggie Police. Already realizing just after a couple months that fat's crucial. All right. Carnivore says 76 watching, 11 thumbs up. Come on, you pricks. At least somebody tells people to thumbs up. You see, if you get on YouTube, you're supposed to beg people, you make sure to like and subscribe, you guys. Make sure to like and subscribe to my channel. Please give it a thumbs up. Yeah. Well, if you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. Thanks, Carnivore. You guys got to make sure to subscribe to Carnivore's channel over there. My neighbor here in Ecuador. Carnivorous neighbor here in Ecuador. So anyways, it seems Goji Man got kind of triggered. The great Goji Man. I mean, however stoic and, emotionally and mentally ferocious. Not just ferocious, but he's like a calm sea. He's like the ocean. Where you know that there's great power inside of that ocean, but when it's calm, it's so soothing. That's kind of how I see the great Goji Man here. And the ocean got shook up a little bit by Vegetable Police. So let's see exactly what it was that Vegetable Police did to trigger Goji Man, who normally, I know in this video he might look really sickly. He might look like a scared little mouse trying to hide in a wall. just in the thumbnail here, but that must be deceptive editing. Let's see. I know this guy normally has a lot of very, very interesting things to repeat that he read on vegan propaganda sites. So let's hear about the oxalates, salicylates, histamines, as Goji Man's head tries not to fall over due to being just so heavy. All right, let's see what. Make sure my audio is working.
Everything and what they mean. So please, please, please support this if you can. It's super important for the overall vegan community. And before I go, a quick message to Vegetable Police. So last night he was on the Primal Health podcast talking about various things, and my name popped up, and this is what he had to say.
Is my mic messed up? There's my mic. Goji Man. Primal Edge Health, my friend. I understand. You did sit through a 3-hour podcast to see if somebody dropped your name. You sat through a 3-hour live broadcast. And I know that you sit through every other live broadcast that I've done because I've seen you tell people and reference points of time in my 3-hour long podcast that you somehow have time to watch. But come on, man. Throw the Primal Edge Health, my friend. Not the Primal Edge podcasts. Let's continue. Where'd my settings go? Have you had any plant foods? You added any plant foods at all lately to try?
Yeah, I'm trying. I tried some 99% chocolate. That's an interesting little thing.
And what's the result there? Because cacao, I love chocolate. Like I've got chocolate right here. I've got a chocolate in my desk. I haven't even eaten chocolate in like a month though, just because I don't know. I mess around with my diet all the time. Like I go super elemental sometimes. I like to play around. And I get blood work all the time. Just test different things. Chocolate's got some oxalate, a little bit of oxalate in it. And
yeah, I seem to be fine with it. Yeah, I'm wondering. Like I react to histamines mostly. I'm not sure if I react to oxalates. Like everybody has an oxalate limit. I don't care how healthy your digestion is. Like Goji Man will say, "Hey, you can always just break down the oxalates if you have good digestion." But
so on Tuesday last week, I put this video out about oxalate, and this is actually what I say about oxalates. Now, the average person will usually consume anywhere between 100 and 200 milligrams of oxalates a day in their diets. And to put this into perspective, if you have 2 cups of spinach in your smoothie a day or a similar high oxalate food, you are likely to be ingesting upwards of 1,500 to 2,000 milligrams of oxalates just in a single smoothie. So even with a healthy gut function, this coupled with the other oxalate foods you are consuming throughout the day will be way above what most people's bodies and guts can tolerate, and longer term you are likely to start running into all manner of health issues. And just to give you some perspective here again, if you were to take a dose of around 1,500 to 2,000 milligrams of oxalates in a day, in which your gut didn't process it and it went straight into your bloodstream, this amount would potentially be a lethal dose. So Vegetable Police, stop trying to twist my words to fit your own agenda. This is not the first time you've done it. You chose the carnivore diet to manage your symptoms, and I respect that. That's your choice. But like I have repeatedly said to you on videos and on email, all you are doing is managing your symptoms with an elemental type diet. You are not fixing the underlying bacterial problems. And this nonsense that you and Primal Edge were talking about on the live stream about the carnivore diet killing off the bacteria because you are cutting off their food supply, well, to be fair, it's laughable. So certain types of SIBO, such as methane dominance or hydrogen sulfide type dominance, these bacteria can still ferment in the absence of carbs, so they will feed off the protein and fat. So yes, absolutely your symptoms will reduce dramatically by going carnivore as their preferred food is limited, but they are still there. And Vegetable Police, you know this and everyone else knows this, because every time you try and eat fruits and vegetables, you get another whack in symptoms. Anyhows, stop talking about me. If you've got something you want to say directly to me, then let's have it out on a call. But stop twisting my words on these different podcasts to fit your own agenda. Anyway, rant over, back to the main point of this video.
Okay, so Goji Man almost put me to sleep there with like a 3-hour diatribe. This is a great screenshot, by the way. This is like vegan YouTube in a nutshell right there. Let me just grab that screenshot of the great Goji mouse. All right, so all Vegetable Police said was, okay, well, Goji Man says you got the right gut bacteria, you can break down the oxalates, which he has said that in the past. In the response videos that he made to Vegetable Police in the past, which was not so far ago, and I'm not going to go back to Goji Man's videos. They're almost completely unwatchable unless you do it on 2 times speed, but then it's still like looking at Ichabod Crane on meth. So it's really sad. But yeah, so Goji Man's points here are, I'm not really sure what he's saying. he says that Vegetable Police misrepresented him, but Goji Man said many times that you have the right gut bacteria, you can digest the oxalates. If your gut is in line, you can digest the oxalates. And he took about 3 minutes there to say that many foods have oxalates, and you can reach your oxalate threshold quite easily. What I've never heard the great Goji Man say, so the savior of all vegan kind, the great man of the vegangelical movement, this hulking beast of a man, Goji Man. What I've never heard him give is an actual recommendation on what foods vegans can eat to heal their gut. So he's constantly obsessing over the carnivore diet. This guy who's decided to pull out all plants or all animal foods from his diet, something no culture in the history of humanity has ever done. And of course, the whole world is freaked out. It's so triggered by people just not eating plants, when there have been many cultures that lived off of minimal plant food, or cultures like the Inuit who were eating almost no plant food, sans for some seaweed. Right? The Plains Indians following the buffalo herds around and living almost exclusively off of buffalo. Now, I'm not saying that everybody needs to eat an all-meat diet, but what I'm saying is not a single culture in the history of humanity has ever lived without animal foods until now. Until these plant-based deeps. You know, you got guys like Klaus from Plant-Based News just talking all about the amazing celebrities that are going to push veganism, and it's going to be amazing. And we have Saudi princes funding our channel here. Prince Khalid, whose father has been accused of international arms stealing as well as child trafficking, and it's just so amazing because the celebrities and the billionaires are all pushing for veganism because we're all so enlightened. You know, only now, when we become so disconnected from what it even is to be human, right? I mean, most people out there haven't, most of us, most human beings today have probably never even started a fire, have probably never slaughtered an animal and cleaned it, have probably never even had a garden, are out there telling people what they should eat, how they should live, and that they should pull out all animal foods from the diet. Right? There we go. Goji Man really wanted to come on the channel here, come on the stream and talk. I tagged him in a couple posts on Instagram, and of course he was quite triggered. Seeing as you are so keen to constantly wave your diets under my nose, live stream debate. So in classic vegan tradition, right? Wants to have another ping pong fake debate where the vegans cherry pick Seventh-day Adventists and epidemiological studies that are so full of flaws and errors and fallacies, where they constantly appeal to authority and go on emotional diatribes about, you can't just throw away the great works of the American Heart Association. All these authorities say that cholesterol is bad. Cargill, Monsanto, appealing to the big industry, authorities. All right, he wants to have one of these debates. He wants the debates debate. So I told him, entice me, sexy Goji Man. But I had to be honest, right? Because what's the point of these vegans debate? We've all seen, everybody's seen the Vegan Gains debate, right? Evangelical, atheist, incel versus the world, Vegan Gains, who talks about stomping babies and ladies. We've seen his debates. He sits there with a link of Dr. Greger's terrible cherry-pick studies and just parrots it ad nauseum, parrots these abstracts like he knows what he's talking about. So we've got Goji Man. You know, I had to be honest. I said I'd rather continue streaming people's stories of healing from the vegan anti-fertility death cult and recovering from the shitty advice of emaciated ideologues. And I said, maybe if you had a bigger audience, or after you're done buying your credentials. And then the last one's kind of a poke, right? Because, all these vegans really care about is the size of their audience, the view click count, and their fake-ass sense of superiority. So I kind of poked at his fake sense of superiority. And it says, haha, okay. Well, if you're too much of a pussy, then fine. But fuck off spamming me. And I said, come back when you have an enticing proposal or a jaw. And a jaw, that's that thing that's below your neck, the thing that straight teeth are supposed to be in, the thing that if you don't have proper nourishment, you don't get, and your children don't get. Right? Just like Weston Price in his book and his travels, he found that every single culture, when they remove their nutrient-rich sources of food, the sources of vitamin A, vitamin K2, vitamin D, animal fats, and proteins, their heritage foods, when they remove those, they get massive problem. Narrowing of the face, shrunken heads. Literally, the bottom third of the skull gets smaller. And their teeth don't develop properly. They get dental caries. And it usually was leading to massive things like massive health issues like tuberculosis. But when they were on their native foods, the people who weren't trading away their foods for the grain, the wheat, the sugar, the canned foods, the marmalades and the jams, the plant-based foods of enlightenment. Before they ate those, perfectly straight teeth. Right? You look at the skulls from 10,000 years ago, the Plains Indians, perfectly straight teeth. And the Eskimo populations, the Inuit. The vegans like to cherry pick because it's well known that nowadays the Inuit's health is failing, but that's because they're eating the diet of modernity. They're eating the foods of commerce, the foods of genocide, that destroy cultures, that remove their heritage foods, remove their fertility, and leaves them vulnerable to mental, physical, and even moral degeneration. Right? Because we get cut off from our sources of food. We get fed this McDisney food, the global McMonoculture diet. The Cargill, Monsanto, General Mills, trash food with cartoon characters on the box. And with stamps like American Heart Association approved. Or Goji Man approved. So then Goji Man retorts, of course, he puffs up. Haha, when I have a bigger account, I have 10th the subscribers you get and more views than you. I get more views than you. Good for you, Goji Man. Alright. So I said, have a good one, Ichabod. Get at me in a few years when you're still thriving on your soy boy gerbil diet. Hopefully you can get Saudi princes to fund your message, like your hero, Dr. Gregor. And he blocked me. So that was the end of that saga. But, I think it would be interesting to have Goji Man. He could come on a stream sometime and talk. The whole, formal debate, the whole fake debates debate thing is kind of played out. Maybe I'd host a debate between someone else and Goji Man. I just want to see Goji Man for more than 5 minutes without jump cuts. That's all. I just want to see if he could actually hold his head up for more than 5 minutes. It's always, everything he says, he has to put his head down and blink. Strange little guy, this Goji Man. And why is he hiding in a corner? Why? This is the strange thing to me, is why is Goji Man hiding in the corner here? It looks like he wants to shrink into the wall. He's like, don't hurt me, camera. Don't hurt me, camera. So, I don't know. So that's that. All right, so thanks for the mention, Goji Man. Thanks for the shout-out. Please continue to make videos, and we love when you mention our channel here because it sends us many former vegans, and then also it even sends us future ex-vegans, right? Like the ones who downvote the videos and comment and talk shit and stuff. All my good friends out there on my banned list, which is most of the fake YouTube hacktivist vegan community out there pretending to be cute and clever out there on the internet, pretending to be a part of something meaningful, because we're so disconnected, right? That's why people fall prey to this. That's why the minions of Goji Man and Durian Rider and Dr. Gregor seem like such a loud group, right? But it's really a very small group of people, most of whom are already blocked on my YouTube channel. There's a very small amount of voices, and they make themselves very loud because they have a lot of time, they have a lot of pent-up energy, and they're completely nutrient deficient, and pissed off at the world and trying to figure out why they feel so shitty. Right? And it's not just because of the nutrient deficient diet. It's like they're not getting nourished by their worldview. They're not being nourished by culture. They're being led by fake celebrities.
Hello and
right? They're being led by, they're being led by in a celebrity worshiping culture that's just completely deranged and degenerate, that promotes, mutilation of children, right? That constantly at war over nonsense, and we all know it, yet we get duped into it every time. There's real issues out there that people don't want to deal with. All right, like the plummeting fertility rates, the sperm counts in the Western world, in the United States, decreasing over 50% since 1970. Why is that happening? The cancer rates, out of this world, skyrocketing. And animal food consumption is not increasing. That's not why cancer rates are going up, vegans. I know you got your silver bullet. It's just about this. But we've got real issues. We've got an entire 5G grid of weaponized millimeter waves being put up all around the Western and modernized world. And this is patented military technology, active denial systems. And we've got kids getting brain tumors at a year old. We weren't seeing this 100 years ago. That's not just because of diet. All right, but obviously diet and nutrition does play a major part in the formation of the immune system, which is why it's heartbreaking to see stuff like this. Stuff like this propaganda that gets people duped, right? And I'm sure Goji Mouse would be praising this wonderful, enlightened video. Right? All these sterile, childless vegans who've not seen the fruits of their labor, who've not lived. I live in a community. Oh, there are many parents who tried to raise their kids vegan. Many of them have since seen the error of their ways and corrected the nutritional deficiencies. But man, I can't tell you just the amount of like autistic symptoms that we see among vegan and vegetarian children in the expat communities in South America. Because there are a lot of expats, a lot of like hippies, alternative living type people who come down to South America to change their lives. Many of them get into the vegan thing and feed their kids this diet. So like the developmental stunting that you see, the failure to thrive, you'd call it, the pallor in the skin, the like seeing ribs on a fight. You should see a freaking 3 or 4 year old kid's ribs. It's like the malnourishment and, also just the connection that these kids have socially and the way that they interact when they're stunted. And the behavioral issues. This was even observed by Weston Price. So when he went to these native cultures, childbearing was very easy and the kids rarely cried. Right? And it sounds like, all babies cry. But it's like, no, there's a difference between a child that's properly nourished, a child that's getting the animal fats and proteins it needs. Like our kid Ryder, eating loads of animal fat, raised on animal fat. He's a little tank. He's a little savage. The difference, thank you, Jessica. You want to come say hi? Jessica doesn't want to come say hi. She says bye. She brought me some water. So anyways, it's really sad to see these kids raised on these vegan diets and the failure to thrive, the lack of vitamin A, lack of fat-soluble vitamins, vitamin D, and the future gut issues and the already distended bellies and gut issues that they seem to be showing through the autistic-like behaviors. And then, of course, seeing our daughters' teeth suffer from our former vegetarian and vegan diet. And then stop and harden and correct as soon as we started feeding animal fats. And then reading thousands of other people having the same experience. It was really eye-opening. So let's check out this next little piece of propaganda that's just absolutely pernicious and heartbreaking. Trailer, the ultimate guide to vegan pregnancy. And this is from Klaus from Plant-Based News' channel. And Klaus is all about the celebrities and just making sure that Plant-Based News is always about positive, about the plant-based agenda is so good. Bill Gates loves it. We're going to stop overpopulation with the vegan diet. It's amazing. So let's hear what this lady's got to say about vegan pregnancy.
welcome to the ultimate guide to all things vegan pregnancy. My name is Dr. Gemma Newman. I'm a UK-based health professional and mother to 2 vegan children. I'm honoured to have teamed up with Plant-Based News and Dr. Neil Bernard from the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine to bring you this comprehensive guide to having a healthy, happy and vibrant pregnancy. Through over 20...
What the heck is up with Neil Bernard's neck and jaw?
Through over... pregnancy.
I don't know. That's kind of strange.
Through
Weird
over
looking guy.
20 meticulously constructed modules, we'll cover a wide range of topics, from essential nutrients for a healthy pregnancy to what to expect throughout each trimester. You can see the exact course structure down below.
Alright. Essential nutrients during pregnancy, she mentions. She shows introduction to the course. So here's how vegan babies are born. Vegan babies are still born by the stork. I think it's interesting that in Price's book, in Weston Price's book, Nutrition and Physical Degeneration, which you should check it out. It's a really good book. You know, there's a lot of great photographs in the book of native people in their natural environment eating natural foods, as opposed to first generation members of the same communities. The first generation eating the foods of commerce. So like here's. My book's falling apart. Aquí en mi país de Ecuador. Actualmente es de Perú. Los peruanos. There's perfect teeth, right? Peruvians having perfect teeth. Dientes perfectos. But here, in the Andes, first generation, off of the native diet, and you start to see deformations in the jaw and the teeth. Very, very poor teeth formation. And this was in the 1940s, 1930s actually. It's so much worse now, right? So much worse now. But the lady in this video, she mentions vitamin D. Let's go back. She talks vitamin D.
Meticulously constructed modules will cover a wide range of topics, from essential nutrients for a healthy pregnancy to what to expect throughout each trimester.
She mentions vitamin D. There's no vitamin D. Show me one plant food with any vitamin D. There's not a single plant food with vitamin D. Do you know how vitamin D is made? Vitamin D is made from sulfated cholesterol. Sulfated cholesterol gets turned into cholecalciferol, vitamin D, when we go out into the sun and the sun hits our skin. Cholesterol is a precursor to vitamin D and to nearly every sex steroid hormone in the body. Right? This is an essential nutrient for babies, for children. If you look at any native culture in the world, including the Peruvians and South American cultures, the Andean people, they were eating high vitamin D and vitamin A foods. Here in the Andes of Ecuador and Peru, what they would do is they would trade for an egg from the coast. So the coastal regions, abundant in fish and seafood. In fact, the coastal regions were nearly impossible to be conquered by the Inca Empire. The areas up north, here in Ecuador, like Manta, cerca Puerto Lopez, these areas couldn't be conquered by the Inca. They couldn't be assimilated into the empire because they were such robust, strong people, and they had such an abundant food source from the ocean that they weren't able to be cut off from trade by the Inca. There was one Inca. There was a bunch of Incas. There's one Inca. It was the king. It was a bloodline. He'd marry his sister. He'd fuck his sister, and they'd make a baby, and that'd be the next Inca. The coastal people couldn't be conquered because they had an abundant source of food, fish and seafood on the coast. The people in the Andes would trade with the coastal regions. So they would trade alpaca products, wool, stuff like coca. It would grow at higher altitudes. And they would trade some of these foods and alpaca to the coastal people, and they would get what was called the angelote. And there's, in the North American Plains Indians, they would be using like salmon roe, bone marrow as their sacred foods for preparing for pregnancy. But here in the Andes, it was this fish from the angelote. The angelote is like a skate-like creature. I don't have a picture of it. I don't want to search. I don't want to waste time. It's a skate-like creature. Kind of looks like a stingray or something. And they'd pull the egg from it. The egg weighs like a pound. Jessica, will you bring me one of these eggs? Yeah. Bring me an ajolote. Okay. I'll show you guys one. So these eggs weigh about a pound when they're dry. And they're full of vitamin A, vitamin D, and iodine. Because you can't get iodine at the very high Andean regions in as great a concentration as you can on the coast. The water and the rain is constantly washing out the soil up here. So even before modern agriculture, we had a lot of soil erosion here. So they were constantly having to amend their soil using different ways. So here's a couple of these. This isn't a part of it. That's just, you tie them up and you hang them. So these are angelotes. They smell fishy still. It's just a dried egg. I got two things in this world. My word and my balsh. They're weird looking, right? Funky looking things. For those of you who are just listening, they fit in your hand. You clutch it in your fist, maybe the size of a sweet potato, about the color of a yam or a sweet potato. You can see like little veins in it and stuff. These are the unfertilized egg from the angelote, full of iodine, vitamin D, vitamin A. They be traded from the coast as a fertility food for women. These madmen vegan are out there telling women to completely remove all plant foods from their diet and eat a diet rich in lectins, glyphosate used as a desiccant. Even on crops like quinoa and oats and other grains, even chia seeds. Chia is heavily sprayed with glyphosate as a desiccant before it's harvested. There's massive amounts of contamination of glyphosate in a lot of these foods. So these are the foods that they're telling women to eat. They're full of anti-nutrients. Right? When a seed goes into the soil, it soaks up water, soaks up other minerals from the soil in order to grow into a plant. They're telling you to put as many of these seeds into your body as they are before pregnancy is just madness. With all the phytates, all the phytic acid, all these anti-nutrients, which I'm not saying plants are bad in general, but to eat only plants is absolute madness. And especially is absolutely criminal for pregnant women. So then she talks about the fish myth and inflammation and information about omega-3 fatty acids. The fish myth. Where do you get omega-3 fatty acids without these completely new extraction processes that are making it from algae? You required fish, you required seafood, you required animal foods. Up until now, when you have this, decadent society where they believe that they can supplement everything. Oh, love is just chemicals. We'll just supplement it in the human diet. We grow babies in laboratories. We grow their food in labs. Oh, nice. Jessica, she also brought some maca. Those little maca roots. These are cool. They'll be trading foods like maca to the coast. This is a plant food. A starchy plant food. Used up here in the Andes. So again, I'm not saying plant foods are bad just because I don't eat very many plant foods. I eat a mostly carnivorous diet. Doesn't mean I believe all plants are bad. They have their place in the human diet. In fact, almost every single human culture has eaten some plants, but they've never eaten exclusively plants. Or even mostly plants calorically. Even your precious Okinawans, vegans. You know how much freaking pork they eat out there? All right, let's move on with this video. Let's see what this beautiful trailer.
While the course is led by myself, the acclaimed plant-based physician Dr. Neil Bernard, also included testimonials from vegan pediatricians and mothers who have had successful vegan pregnancies. So come along and join the journey towards a happy, healthy vegan pregnancy.
All right, so promoting vegan pregnancy. All right, so Rhonda Patrick, freaked out, triggered by the carnivore diet. All these people must be religious nuts and zealots. As we're going to see, we got another carnivore guy, William Shufelt. He's going to talk to us in a few minutes. Not a religious nut or zealot, just ended up finding that carnivore-style diet approach worked for him. All right, so Rhonda Patrick, totally triggered by not eating plants, but doesn't seem much bothered at all by promoting vegan pregnancy. All right, I've got one more little clip here. Let's see if William's... I'm going to call William in about 5 minutes. let's move on, guys. I've got this other interesting video. I didn't even get to all of the ones I wanted to there. We've got to preface. This will be the last one we watch before. All right. This really helps to segue into the Power Ranger talk with William Shufelt. So we've got, prominent vegan YouTuber, one of the great minds of the 20th century, one of the great moral authorities of this age, right? Just one of the most powerful speakers and filmmakers and activists and amazing gamers and doll collectors and wig wearers ever to join us on YouTube. Vegan Gains had a dream that may have prophesied this podcast, this live stream, whatever you want to call it. So we'll look at that, but first we're going to check out, we've got Dr. Gregor. So the great Greg Eno, the vegan Ubermensch, Dr. Gregor. Look at those eyes. Look at those sultry eyes. Like, I'm pretty straight. Like, I'm pretty straight, but damn. Let's check this out.
Next question about flatulence. You mentioned a study that fed people beans for 8 weeks every day, and at the end they were down from 35% flatulence to only 3% flatulence. But what about those 3% that still suffer flatulence after eating legumes for a long time on a regular basis?
Okay, well, so flatulence is normal, healthy bodily function, right? It's just excess flat. I mean, that's what we're concerned about, or that's what people are concerned about, excess flatulence in terms of kind of the social stigma. But, I mean, it's actually...
Just going to interrupt here. Let's talk about what shit posture he's got to have to be walking like this. It's like a bobblehead on his freaking thing. It's like, dude, when you walk, your head's supposed to be straight, your legs move. You got that thoracic rotation. Look how Dr. Gregor walks. He's just like a fucking slinky. Got Gregor the slinky. All right, let's keep going.
Actually, I mean, so yeah, so we kind of we undermine natural phenomena at our own peril, right? I mean, for people who are still experiencing what they consider to be excess flatulence, I would, there's some. I have a blog. I don't know. So if you type in flatulence, I'm sure it'll pop up.
It's called makefartinggreatagain.com.
So lentils may be preferable. Chickpeas. There's some things that are just better, have less of these kind of indigestible sugars that create that our bugs eat to create the gas. But again, I would encourage people to keep it up. I mean, it's very possible that study, because they saw a steady decline as people's gut microbiome adapted to the newer fiber intake. And so if they extended to 12 weeks, that decline might have continued. So I encourage people to keep it up.
Okay. And anything besides trying different legumes, like probiotics or other factors that might lower the flatulence?
Well, it's this. Well, I think the biggest problem is people that make a big shift. So if you've been eating really fiber depleted diet your whole life, then all of a sudden you switch to a really healthy diet. It's a big shift for your microbiome. Your microbiome is expecting more, milkshakes and cheeseburgers. And so all of a sudden you're actually sending real food down there. It can take a while for your microbiome to adapt. So if you do suffer from kind of gastrointestinal symptoms, I encourage people to go slow. In fact, it can be even as slow as adding like a spoonful of beans a day until your body can slowly adapt. I mean, some people, in fact, that's what the research shows. Most people can go straight to beans, not even have a problem.
Okay, so we got Dr. Gregor here telling you that it's people might just be thinking it's not normal to fart all the time. Oh, man. Where's the part he talks about water fasting? There was a part about building muscle. Daily dozen for building muscle. Let's hear his Dr. Gregor's muscle building tips.
I love your Daily Dozen app. recommend everyone to use it as a basic guideline. My question is, would you change anything about the daily dozen for those who want to build muscle or just eat more?
Well, I mean,
vasectomy.
It's not meant to be kind of like a meal plan or anything. That's just the minimum, right? And so, you know, people have come to me and said, wait a second, I'm pregnant or I work out too much. I can't live off this. I'm like, no, that's just the minimum, right? I mean, look, you want to eat more than 3 servings of legumes a day, go for it. But I just want to make sure everyone gets a minimum of 3 servings. And so that's really what it's about. And so someone who's just burning more calories may have to just up the quantity of what they're eating. But I still would like them to get all those healthiest of healthy foods into their daily routine.
Yes. My next question is about water. You explain. About pregnant women, what supplements are necessary during pregnancy for a plant-based mother?
So I would encourage pregnant women to take a prenatal vitamin that includes iodine, and of course they'd be continuing to take their B12, vitamin D, and long-chain omega-3s. But I would also, on top of that, do prenatal vitamin that included iodine in
it. No mention of vitamin A, zinc, iron, right? Anemia being a huge issue. When Jessica was pregnant, it was just after coming out of a vegan diet. Right? We weren't stupid enough to try to have a vegan pregnancy. Like these freaking emaciated ideologues recommend. But and she was still anemic during pregnancy. And had to get her iron levels up. And that was on a mostly plant-based diet because we still thought that meat was like something you have to maybe eat it, but not so much. Not so much. And it's kind of bad for you, but you kind of got to do it. You know, that's kind of where most former vegans get at in the very beginning. So, yeah, I mean, at least he's being honest and not saying, oh, yeah, you just eat all fruit and vegetables, and when you lose your period, it means you're enlightened because you're detoxed enough. Like, really, the Banana Girl and Darien Rider, some of these other people in the emaciated ideologue movement of the vegangelical movement. But yeah, no, it's crazy. You see people like Goji Mouse and Uber Gregor, Freely the Banana Skank, giving advice to pregnant ladies. Just fantastic. But anyways, guys, all right, let's move on. I didn't even get to there was a few other videos that some vegans had made about me that I didn't get to, but that's fine. I got to talk about the great Goji Man a little bit. He's a fun character. Maybe he'll come on the stream sometime. Like I said, Goji Man, you're welcome to come on a stream. I'd love to see you on a live stream without jump cuts every 5 seconds. I'd like to see if you can hold your head up for 5 minutes, buddy. And we could talk about whatever. We can talk about veganism, and you can give your side of the story of why eating meat is terrible and why we should remove meat from all diets. But let's move on. We're going to talk to William Shufelt. William was a 4-year vegan. He was on a vegan diet for 4 years. Decided to get his health back using a ketogenic approach. He, much like myself, ended up finding that a carnivorous-style diet resonated more with his body and actually helped to improve his health even further after going keto. So this is not just some guy who decided plants are all evil. He was kind of on a long road, a long journey to health and to optimization of body composition and of physical and mental health. So we're going to talk to him right now. Let's see if I can get him on the line now. Hopefully he's here.
Hey, I can hear you. Can you hear me? All right. Is my audio okay, or how's that doing?
Your audio's good. I think my audio's good. I think we're good to go.
Awesome.
So how's it going, man?
It's going pretty good. Off to a good Monday, so hopefully it's going to be a productive week. But yeah, things are going pretty good.
What
Working on
makes a good Monday a
projects.
good Monday?
What's that?
What makes a Monday a good Monday?
Starting it off right, I would say.
Nice.
Yeah.
How do you start
If
your
I
day?
can have a good morning, then the whole thing's great.
You got a morning routine?
I have a general morning routine. Yeah, it changes depending on what's going on for the day, but it's generally getting up. I'll make coffee, read for about an hour, and then head out, train. That's usually like an hour and a half, and then get to work. So that's pretty much it. Simple, very simple.
Now, where do you live? Live in LA?
I'm in Beach. Yeah, it's a little bit south of LA.
Yeah, I know Huntington Beach. I was born in Dana Point, which is not so far from Huntington Beach.
Dana.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how'd you get into? I made the title. Let's see. What is the title? The title here we got Power Ranger 4-year vegan to keto to carnivore to get health back. 4-year vegan to keto to carnivore to get health back. You mentioned that I actually didn't know that you were on a vegan diet in the past. I'd met you, like not even met you, but you were hanging out with Jason Whitrock, and I talked to Jason on like a live Instagram or something. You were with him. You were in Colorado at the time, so that was our first introduction. So I've seen you on Jason's vlogs and stuff, and I've seen some of your work. Obviously, a huge Power Rangers fan, and maybe not the new incarnation, but I did love Power Rangers as a kid. I think we all did, whether we admit it or not. So how did you get into veganism? How did that come about?
Oh man, veganism. It was basically it was a progression of trying to learn about nutrition and trying to fix my own problems. I think a lot of us come from that place where we have our own health issues and we're pretty much trying to play doctor for ourselves. So that's essentially what I was doing. I didn't trust, I guess, the standard medical framework or approach to some of the problems I was having, gut issues and skin issues, energy, focus, also athletic issues and body composition problems. So I really thought nutrition was the root. I just had a strong feeling that it had to do with my diet. And I was starting to study, and I started to learn more about antioxidants and the mitochondrial theory of aging, which led me very far down the longevity route and learning about centenarians and reading every book I could get on those sort of subjects. And then it started to just evolve into a vegan approach, plant-based. I got really into Dr. Michael Greger's stuff and Esselstyn and Caldwell and the usual suspects. So it
was like a whole food. You weren't doing like you weren't doing a fruitarian diet, obviously. You were doing a whole foods, plant-based diet. What kind of foods did you eat? Like lentils, beans?
I ate a lot of lentils and beans, tons. So I experimented with a lot of different iterations of this, especially in the first 2 years, I would say. So I did the fruitarian or frugivore approach. I was doing that. I did 30 bananas a day. I did the whole like raw till 4 approach. I tried, going completely raw foods. I started to focus more on soy foods. And then eventually I really got into just the basic whole foods plant-based approach, where it's heavy in, whole grains, vegetables, beans, nuts, seeds, fruits. It's generally, as far as plant foods go, it's pretty well-rounded, and it completely eliminates most inflammatory oils and processed foods. So
yeah,
I always tell people
kind of out
when
the
people
door.
ask,
no more fast foods, no more. You probably weren't eating a lot of vegetable oils, right?
No, that's true.
So many aspects of
was
it that are definitely you probably still agree with, right? Like the avoiding. What about sugar? Like processed refined sugar. Were you doing that, or just fruit and stuff?
No, just fruit. It was very clean. Yeah, pretty clean diet. Didn't really have a lot of very inflammatory agents in there, besides like some of the whole foods I was eating. But yeah, it was completely whole food centered diet.
And how old were you when you started that?
Let's see, I was about 17 when I started that. So it was just going into college. And that was like the first time I was really able to influence my own approach to health. So yeah, I sort of took matters into my own hands and started to mess around with that.
That's cool. When I was in college, I actually, at the end of college, I started getting into health, but I was just eating freaking dorm room food and fast food.
Yeah.
So did you feel better when you started? Did it help?
It helps for a while. I think I had the first year or two, you know, things are improving and you think your health is getting a lot better. There's definite improvement, but it was at about year 4 where things were just getting progressively worse, especially in regards to hunger and energy. Energy was pretty low and I couldn't really focus on what I was trying to do. I wanted to be productive, but you know, I constantly had to eat. Focus was poor, energy was poor, but the hunger was just through the roof. And it really was counterproductive to my physique and athletic goals to constantly have to eat so much and every 2 hours just being hungry. If I had just, you know, destroyed tons of carbs, just still hungry. So that to me was probably one of the most annoying aspects of it.
How many meals a day were you eating? You said every 2 hours, so was it like 5 meals a day?
It depends on what you count as a meal, because there was a lot of snacking.
Well, now I only count a meal as something that has meat or eggs or fish in it. So
I didn't eat for years.
So man, all right. So the 4 years of this approach, in the beginning, it sounds like maybe it was a little bit more on the more extreme side, where it was like you're trying more raw foods, fruitarian type stuff, lots of fruit, this and that, and then you dialed it into a more more of a conventional vegan approach, kind of how the whole food plant-based stuff is like, Dr. Greger, Dr. Joel Kahn, some of these other kind of vegan proponents will promote. And what we were just talking about flatulence. We were actually just learning about flatulence from Dr. Greger, and he was saying that it's like normal, basically. It might not be a problem, and maybe it's some people's gut might be adjusting to the diet. Did you experience, as 4-year vegan, did you experience any digestive issues with all the plant stuff?
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's no surprise to me that Dr. Michael Greger says that, because I guess you have to justify the results that you're experiencing when you think you're right. So I experienced tons of that, and there's no way that's optimal. It's like your gut shouldn't feel consistently bloated. You shouldn't be experiencing constant gas. That in my mind just doesn't make any sense. And in the beginning, I used to kind of buy into what he was saying in terms of, okay, give your gut microbiome some time to adjust. It has to build up the gut flora to actually digest these foods, and eventually, the gas will go down and you won't have to worry about that stuff. It never happened.
It totally makes sense, right? Because you have to adapt to keto, right? And like when I first started keto, and we'll maybe ask you about your experience now as well, but I know when I first started a ketogenic diet, I definitely had total shift in how I digested food. Like I wasn't able to digest fat so well in the very beginning. So I had to kind of titrate up the fats, figure out what fats I could digest very well. So I think it's a funny argument. Well, there is an adaptation phase for certain diets, but I mean, 4 years later, probably shouldn't be farting all damn day. That definitely would interfere with other lifestyle things. Were you an actor at the time as well? I know now you're a big actor. Were you doing acting at that time?
In the last year, so in the 4th year of actually doing that vegan approach, is when I got really into acting. So I was still an actor at the time, and basically to lean up and to kind of get the look that I wanted to get and the physique I wanted to get, I had to start counting calories, which was something I had never done before. And that's really where things just spiraled off the deep end. Like trying to get lean on a whole foods plant-based vegan diet while training every day and working some crazy hours, everything was dysregulated. Everything was off. It was pretty bad. So that's where the hunger just got crazy, and I wasn't able to deliver in terms of my work and executing on what I had to do. But yeah, it was just at that point I realized, look, the only way this is sustainable is if I can center my whole life around food. The only time a vegan diet worked for me was when I was, like as a student, and I could center my whole day around meal prepping and eating and making sure I got all the perfect foods. But as soon as you're traveling and you're working crazy hours and you have to eat, what the catering people make you, and then you're flying out somewhere and you have to travel and you're on the road, like the whole diet just goes up in flames. So, yeah, it was a welcome
that makes a lot of
switch.
sense. And I mean, it's like you mentioned your whole life being around the diet, and you get juicing and stuff like that. If you're gonna freaking juice, you're gonna make fresh juice. Like, how long does that take? It takes so freaking long. And so, some people might say, well, oh, the carnivore diet, that must be so difficult. I mean, how do you feel as far as your lifestyle goes? Being on set, being ready to cut a scene, to shoot a scene, being ready to, train, just being ready to be, flexible in your life and in your schedule. How does a carnivorous diet kind of change your approach to your daily activities? How does that work?
It's beneficial in so many aspects, but I think one of the most important ones is that it emphasizes nutrient density. So it simplifies things, and the only things you're eating are so incredibly nutrient dense that empty calories really have no place in your diet, which I think is important for a number of reasons related to health, but physique-wise, that's also fantastic. The foods you're eating are actually satiating you, they're nourishing you, and you don't have to overconsume them to try to get any nutrient benefit from them. So I really like the nutrient density aspect of the carnivore diet. And I would say that the second thing is sort of just based on one of the benefits of being in ketosis. It's just the focus and the freedom from hunger. So being able to go hours, like a long day without having to eat, being able to focus on what you're doing and not, obsessing about food. I used to, when I was doing the vegan approach, I would look at people that could work for hours and they talk about getting into a flow state and they were totally into what they're doing. And I would think, how do you do that? Because all I'm thinking about is what I'm going to eat next. I was just, you're always connected to that food and you're obsessing about what you're going to eat and how hungry you are. And you can't really get into deep, productive, and meaningful work if your mind is somewhere else completely. So I think it's one of the biggest benefits is just the carryover it has to your work. And I really, really appreciated that. So it gives you a better body, it gives you better energy, it gives you better health. You can work more productively. It sounds like a magic pill, but I mean, it's pretty great.
Now, so coming out of a vegan diet, I mean, how did you come to the decision to switch things up? Now, you mentioned that like a couple years ago, you decided to try keto out, and it worked really well, and then that led you to a more carnivorous keto diet. Now, I mean, what was kind of like the last straw with your former dietary pathway? What made you kind of want to rethink things?
Well, keto was basically, it was fantastic. I loved the way I felt, but I'm always pushing for that next. It's just, I don't know what it is, if it's chronic dissatisfaction or like that Icarus effect of always trying to find the best thing and the best way to do things and the optimal approach. And I think that's a dangerous mentality and something that you have to rein in. But that was sort of what it was with keto. Like, as great as it was, I thought, is there like a next level of this? Can I do even better than I'm currently doing? So that's when I started to check out like Zero Carb Zen and Principia Carnivora, and I learned about Andrew Scarborough and his battle with brain cancer, and I just learned about all of these people. Kelly Hogan, obviously. Actually, this was in the beginning stages of when Dr. Sean Baker was just getting started with it, and I was stalking his stuff and seeing what he was up to, and I was really just kind of exploring all of these different areas, reading about all of the traditional cultures that did this. And what's interesting is a lot of them did it in very different ways, which I always found cool. None of them seemed to go completely meat-based, and the majority of them definitely didn't do only muscle meat. which I think should inform the current carnivore diet and the conception it's taken. But so, yeah, I did more and more exploring, and I was always holding back a bit because I was like, you know, I should probably worry about electrolytes or like what's going to happen. Could there be issues? And then finally, I just decided, let me give this a shot. And I just kept going with it. Felt fantastic. The coolest things were that I started packing muscle on really fast. So my workout recovery was getting even better. I was packing muscle on really fast. Explosive activities, I was doing a lot better at those, and body fat was dropping. So body composition changed pretty dramatically. And I think a lot of that had to do with actually increasing my protein and just the effects of gluconeogenesis on my body, because I was doing a lot of anaerobic work on a traditional ketogenic diet, eating moderate, lower protein, and it just wasn't working too well for me.
All right, so what did your macros look like when you started keto? So you went straight from like a more of a whole food based vegan diet to a ketogenic diet, or was there like a transition of like, all right, I'm gonna try an egg, or I'm gonna eat a steak, see how that feels, and then, or was it just like, yeah, I'm gonna do this, I'm done with the vegan thing, I'll try keto?
Yeah, it was literally overnight. And I went from whole foods plant based one day to the next day I fasted the entire day. And for dinner, I think I had like a huge green salad with a bunch of eggs and some beef, and I think I had some fish in there. So it was pretty much overnight, and went through the whole keto adaptation phase. I was very strict about it. I wasn't snacking. I was doing quite a bit of intermittent fasting. I would train fasted. I would eat 1 to 2 meals a day. Went pretty gung-ho on it. There was no induction phase, and there was no slowly easing into it. So I did that, and I was also very aware of the electrolytes and, making sure to salt the foods. And I was trying to approach it in an intelligent manner, rather than, immediately going into drinking butter and all that kind of stuff. So
the butter guzzlers.
Yeah.
So you didn't. So it wasn't like peanut butter fat bombs and stuff. It was like a whole foods based keto diet. Do you remember the first time you ate meat after 4 years of not eating meat?
Yeah, I did. So I had a steak, and then I had 2 of these chicken skewers with a ton of chicken on them. So I had quite a bit of meat. I probably, went over about 150 grams of protein just from that. And people always ask me about this, like, were you just dying on the toilet the next day? I honestly felt great. From what I remember, I felt fantastic. I didn't have any issues. Yeah. People are always asking me, like, so honestly, like, what really happened? I felt fantastic. That's the thing. I don't remember having any side effects. I don't remember having any issues. I mean, I'm young. I'm insulin sensitive. My gut seems to be healthy, so my body's resilient. But yeah, I just don't remember any side effects from that.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect. Actually, most people who go from like a vegan diet and having gut issues to eating meat for the first time, they usually feel euphoric the first meal. Like it's almost like it was, oh, like I can't believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't imagine at this point. I mean, I was vegan for like about 2 years, but there was some intermittent succumbing to my sinful fleshly nature and eating meat within that. So it was like I was never really vegan for 2 years, according to the internet vegans who say, it's always or never. But fuck, I can't imagine going 4 years without meat and then having a steak. Because sometimes I'll eat one meal in a day every once in a while, and when I do get that meal, it's like, wow, this is freaking amazing. But I can't imagine 4 years. Like tears of, like one tear maybe. Just like one tear down the side of the face. Just like shaking your head.
It was crazy. I don't think I ever really missed meat. I think what I missed most was probably dairy. I actually really enjoyed dairy and cheese and things like that. So when I was vegan, that was something that I would occasionally crave. I love cheese. I think cheese is fantastic. But I never really seemed to crave a whole lot of meat. I'm sure my body was craving it, but that never manifested in actually realizing like, oh, I should eat some steak. I was just exhausted and felt terrible, but I never put 2 and 2 together. Maybe I should eat some meat.
Do you do cheese on a carnivorous style diet? Like now, what is your carnivore diet? Oh, actually, one more. Let me step back. And what were your macros like on keto? You mentioned you were doing on the lower end on protein. So how much protein a day do you think you were going for when you were on keto?
Yeah, so I remember that I would go anywhere from 70 grams to about 110 grams of protein daily. So it was pretty moderate, I think, for my body weight and lean mass. A lot of the times I would end up in that 70 to 80 range. Carbs were very low. All carbs came from, very non-digestible carb sources. So it was, leafy greens, things like that, cruciferous veggies. And then fat was basically fat to satiety. That was what I had learned. So if I was still hungry, I had to heap some butter on something. I would, have an avocado, or I would eat some macadamia nuts, or I would just pile the butter onto whatever salad I was eating. It was just, that always seemed strange to me, fat to satiety, because fat just never satiated me.
Isn't that the funny thing? It's like protein is the one that brings the satiety. Fat's nice and all, but it's like, man, you can drink a cup of butter and you're not going to feel satiated off a cup of butter. Like you need some meat, not meat, but you need some of that protein to bring the satiety. So now when you're on a carnivore diet, how much protein do you think you're eating a day?
On the carnivore diet, I would have to assume, so it varies, but I think I probably do about 150 to 200 grams of protein a day. So I'm definitely on the higher end with that. I'm in a phase where I'm still experimenting with optimal protein levels, because I respect the IGF-1 and the mTOR arguments and the effects on aging and cancer risk and things like that. I also like Ted Naiman's approach to keeping insulin pulsatile and, going through these periods of fasting and autophagy and down-regulating these growth factors and letting your body repair itself. And then when you fuel up, eat to satiety, and don't restrict your protein unnaturally. So I'm trying to really depend on biofeedback and listening to my body and seeing what it wants and restricting the foods I'm eating to very healthy, nutrient-dense foods, and then going off of that. I'm definitely doing a higher protein approach now. It's still high fat too, and the carbs are very, very low.
Do you consider it like, all right, so if I usually do similar, probably around 150 to 200 grams of protein depending on the day. Sometimes it might be a little bit less some days. It might be as low as like 120 grams of protein. But I find that whenever I measure my ketones, I'm still in ketosis. I'm not big on like constantly measuring ketones or looking at ketones as like a metabolic health marker. But I do find it interesting that's like, I'm sure if I were to measure my ketones right now, it'd probably be like anywhere between 0.6, 0.7 to 2.2, depending on like the time of the day. Do you ever feed the gigapet and measure your ketones?
No, never did. So I had a whole obsessive phase with the whole counting calories and weighing, and it so turned me off from tracking. And I just hated that sort of lifestyle so much that I said never again. And I basically used the mirror and how I feel. And that's pretty much it. Like I definitely draw inspiration from like Mark Sisson with this approach. And, I love in the Keto Reset diet how he sort of has this, it's basically a quiz you go through. And it's completely based on how you're feeling, how your progress is going. But I just think if you can fast throughout the day, if you're not obsessed with food, if you have energy for what you're doing, mental energy, if you're getting all of the results that ketosis is supposed to provide, then don't worry too much about the numbers, unless you're managing a metabolic issue or you're managing some sort of, epilepsy, or you have a cancer that you're trying to treat with ketosis. If you're just doing it for weight loss or for athletic performance, I don't think that's the primary thing, tracking. So
yeah, we've been talking about that here for years too. Yeah, I've never promoted the keto mojos or anything like that. I think it's a waste of money. It's like, look, if you're gonna measure your ketones 10 times in a week, you could buy how many pounds of grass-fed beef liver with that? Or like, maybe if you might not like liver, or if someone likes steak, how many ribeyes can you buy with those ketone strip monies? I think it's a waste. And people freak out about it too because they don't know what's going on. It's like they measure right after a meal. They're like, oh no, my ketones are 0.3. It's just like, you just ate a fucking meal. You're fine. Just go live your life. It's all good. It's looking at ketones as a marker of metabolic health, definitely not a good idea. What I like to tell people is, look, if you're on a carb-based diet Do you measure your blood glucose and rejoice when it's super high and think that that's a great sign? Absolutely not. So why would we assume that ketones work this way? Why would we assume that we want super high ketones all the time? I find most people, when they're at optimal body fat loss, they're not super high on ketones. And I'm not saying that I don't have clients measure, but when clients come to me and they've been duped into measuring their ketones constantly, what I've found, there is a trend that 0.5 to like 1.5 maximum is where you're going to be at on blood ketones when you're burning a lot of body fat. And you could push it up real high by doing MCT oil, refined oils, and stuff like that. But why? What's the point? So do you do anything like that? Like what MCT oils or anything like that in your diet? What does your diet look like day to day for the Red Power Ranger on a carnivore style diet? And also, what does Zordon think about carnivory? Like, is he pro plant, or is he cool with it? Is it all right?
I was thinking about writing in a new character called Lord Ketone. But basically, my diet consists of food. So I don't drink any MCT oil. I don't take any exogenous ketones. I don't drink butter. I don't mess around with any of that kind of stuff. It's basically, I will fast until I'm really hungry. So I like to train fasted in the morning. And it's basically just fasting until I actually feel true hunger. And then I'll eat. Sometimes that becomes 1 meal a day. Sometimes that's 2 meals a day. So sometimes it'll be like a 2 p.m. lunch and then an 8 p.m. dinner, something like that. And those meals basically consist of red meat is usually the foundation of that, some sort of red muscle meat. I'll also do lots of pasture-raised eggs. I do believe a lot in food quality. I like to throw in some fish in there. I make an effort to get in bone broth or some sort of collagen source. I think that's pretty important as well. And I think where I depart from the carnivore religion is where I start to do like some fermented vegetables. So I'll do like kimchi occasionally. I'll do sauerkraut. So different foods like that.
Fucking heretic. You're out of here. All right, you guys, the stream's over. He's eating plants. He's gone. No, I'm kidding. So it's like an ancestral diet, right? Like a Weston A. Price. You know, he's looking at these cultures. They're all eating some sort of plant food, but those plant foods are usually specially prepared. So you ferment your plants before you eat them. Do you find that that's better for your digestion? You feel good on it?
Yeah, absolutely. I do get some of the gut issues if I'll do like raw vegetables. I think probably steaming or cooking them would help. But I find that fermented vegetables, I'm fine with that. I don't get any gut issues. There's no bloating. So yeah, one thing I would say about carnivore is the reason I really push carnivore, and I think it's a very valuable framework to promote this diet, is it focuses on the right foods. And it's such a powerful, it is a reset diet. It's such a powerful framework to promote to people. But I think once you've done the work and you've spent time in that diet, I think it's really important to start to venture outside of that and to figure out what your body works with. Yeah, so it's not, I don't think that it's optimal for everyone to always eat this diet for the rest of their life. I think if you can tolerate fermented foods, if you can tolerate, different types of high-fat dairy, if you can bring in certain plant foods and actually get benefit from them, go for it, you know? So, yeah, there's always sort of like a religious feel to these sort of things. And I just veer away from that as much as I can.
Yeah, I like to eat chocolate. Do you ever do cacao? 100% cacao?
Oh yeah, like that's those are my cheat foods. So macadamia nuts, dark chocolate. What else do I like? It's that kind of stuff though.
Dude, I'll remind my wife. I gotta get your address, your shipping address. I'll send you. We got these chocolates from Ecuador. Let's see. We'll get it on camera. We got super good 100% cacao bars here. This bar right here. This is, I would say, I'm like a huge food nerd. I'm a snob about chocolate. So I live in South America, right? So I'm like, I don't know. I've been sourcing cacao for a long time. These things are so freaking good. This is probably this is the best chocolate bar I've ever had in my life. And there's no sugar in it. It's not sweetened at all. It's 100% cacao. This was the only one. So at the World Chocolate Awards last year, this was the only 100% bar that was in like even the top 20, I think, and it got second place. So I'm going to send you one of these. You got to let me know if you like it or not. But I think they're the best. I think they're the freaking best bars in the world. But we do, for the audience, we got these on our site. We got these on the website right now. If you want to get them in bulk, you guys, you can email us and get you a discount. And just go to the website. There's a link down in the bio or the description or whatever the hell you call it. Cool. Yeah, I'll send you a couple chocolate bars, dude. You might even be able to find that bar. Go ahead.
Whereabouts in South America are you?
We're in Ecuador. So we live in the south of Ecuador, down in the Loja province of Ecuador. We're about 4 hours from the Peruvian border.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, my mother is Guyanese, so yeah, half of my family is South American.
Yeah, but that's East Coast.
That's Northeast. Yeah, that's a different gang.
We don't trust them. No, I'm kidding. No, dude, I'd love to, I have no idea. Like, is Guyana flat? I know that, you know, a lot of the northeast of South America is very, very flat. Where it's like here, it's all mountains, and I get freaked out if I see something too flat for too long.
Guyana is all jungle. It's completely green. Lots of water, lots of jungle. Yeah.
Isn't that where Jim Jones, didn't they go? There was a French Guyana, was where Jim Jones and the, oh man, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So how long? All right, let's get into the acting thing and how diet kind of fits in with that, because I mean, obviously, like, you know, you're expected to bring a certain physique to your job, right? Like, that's part of your job. You gotta look good, right? Like, you have a certain image that you got to portray for the show. You got to be jacked, a little bit jacked, but probably not too jacked, because you're playing like a teenage character, right? How does diet fit into your lifestyle as an actor, and how important is maintaining your physique just for, like, you know, your day-to-day life as, you know, being able to make money as an actor?
I think it's one of the top priorities up there. I mean, along with learning your craft, I think it's one of the top things you can do, not only because it affects every other aspect of your life, but it absolutely affects the way you look and the way you feel. And those are the top things that casting directors are looking at, you know, and that's what the audience is seeing that you put up on screen. So I think it's just a hugely important investment. I take it very seriously. You know, a lot of people in different careers will say, well, I'm not an actor, so I don't really need to pay that much attention to my diet. I feel fine. But you are a human being, and you've got this body, and you need to live long enough for your kids. You need to take care of your own health so you can do your work. What you're eating affects the genetic inheritance that you're passing down to your kids. So I don't see how anybody could get away with the argument that, well, you're an actor and that's why you have a particular diet. I think that it's something that everyone should be investing in. It's a really important, like, cornerstone investment, along with educating yourself, along with taking care of your family, along with setting goals. It's one of those things that you just have to have that taken care of. So for me, yeah, I need to make sure that I know what I'm eating every day of the week. And I think it's that important.
When you shoot, is it always like near home? Is it in LA, or do you guys travel anywhere for different stuff?
We do lots of shooting in LA. Most of Power Rangers was filmed in New Zealand, so we filmed there for 9 months. Yeah, it was about 9 months.
Oh, that's awesome.
So that was
good grass-fed beef there. Lamb.
Oh yeah, the best beef, the best lamb. Not hard to find organ meats. New Zealand had some great stuff. So yeah, a lot of stuff in New Zealand, but most of it's like in and around the LA area.
You got weird hours? Like, you know, you having to wake up and shoot at 5 a.m., get the magic hour shot. I mean, I see right here in the photograph just on the one that I used for the cover image. It looks like it's like 5 a.m. the angle of the light. What time are you going to work at when you shoot?
So we would sometimes get, if you get a 7 a.m. call time, then that means that you need to get picked up. You'd get picked up maybe at about like 5:30 or 6, and they put you through makeup, wardrobe, then they have breakfast there. So they allow certain times for those things. So you're getting picked up maybe 5:30 in the morning, sometimes 6 o'clock, sometimes later. But you'd have to be on set ready to go at 7 a.m. And for me, I couldn't work out later in the day. like I just had no willpower to do it. So I would usually get up earlier and work out before I get picked up. So that would become usually about like a 3 or 4 a.m. wake up. Work out, then, you know, get ready, head to set, do the makeup, do all that kind of stuff. And then, you know, you're on set, you work throughout the day. Wrap time will be maybe 5, 6, 7 p.m. Go home, learn your lines for the next day, get up. So it's a pretty routine. It's pretty routine, yeah.
So you said that like they provide lunch. I mean, do you get to tell them you bring your own food, or you just have some steaks around, you get some ribeyes laying around set? How does that work?
So catering is usually, they accommodate very, very well to actors. So obviously, you know, in LA, every actor's doing some sort of weird diet. And you see, you know, everybody's at Whole Foods getting non-GMO this and kosher that. And so catering fully knows that every actor is allergic to everything. So they accommodate very, very well. So they definitely took care of diet very well. When I was doing a vegan diet on Power Rangers, I would basically meal prep, and I would bring my own things in Tupperwares. And, you know, I got a lot of stares for eating massive Tupperware containers full of beans. And it would take me about 30, 40 minutes to get through these things, just beans and lentils and soy and vegetables. And it's pretty rough. It was pretty rough.
Fiber. So you're going from like 100 grams of fiber a day to like 0 grams of fiber, or maybe 5 to 10 from sauerkraut, right? Because that's sauerkraut. You don't eat that much sauerkraut, do you? It's like when I eat a serving of sauerkraut, it's going to be, you know, a few bites, and it's like, well, okay, that's good.
Yeah, you don't have to overdo that stuff. I was eating massive amounts of fiber, so easily in the range of 50, maybe 75 grams. I don't think I ever got up to like 100 grams, but I would make these green smoothies where I would throw in every fibrous vegetable I could find, and flax seeds, and just any tough roughage that you wouldn't want going through your intestine every day. I would just throw that thing in a blender.
You're like, that looks abrasive. That looks good enough.
This looked like it could tear through my gut wall.
Throw some
my
grip
stomach
tape
lining.
in there, some skateboard grip tape.
Yes. I think I've seen a Kimbo Slice make it was some sort of a blender thing where he threw leather in there, and he's like, "This will toughen your bones up," and then he threw like eggshells.
Oh, man. I miss
he's
that
like,
guy.
"This is good for the bone." he actually took a drink. But yeah, so it was a pretty bad green smoothie, and that was about a gallon of that. So I would drink that throughout the day, and then I was eating this massive meal of beans and more fiber. Snacks were full of fiber, nuts, things like that. It was a painful few years of my life.
So now when you're on set, it's probably a lot simpler. Now, what's your meal on set look like now?
Oh, it's very easy. It's red meat, eggs. Sometimes I'll take these desiccated liver tablets if I don't really have access to that. Or for dinner, I'll just eat some liver. I try to get in some fish as well. And if they have any not too aggressive salad that's not, you know, a bunch of dressing and stuff like that, I'll have that maybe once or twice a week. So I'll like down a salad or something like that. It's usually just leafy greens. But that's pretty much the gist of it. I'm really trying to force myself into drinking more bone broth. It's one of those things that it's so easy for me to forget and just not care about. But I'm trying to get more involved with that. But that's pretty much the basis of my diet.
And do you ever do just like egg yolks? I've been finding that lately, and I always thought it was funny when people just eat egg whites, but now I'm like the polar opposite of that. I'll just eat the yolk now, and I'll give the white to the dog. I find that's a really good like animal-based source of fat energy. Do you ever do raw egg yolks?
I like to keep the egg yolks runny. So when I cook them, I do try to keep them runny. One thing that I do sometimes is I'll cook the egg whites, and then I'll drink the egg yolks, or I'll put the egg yolks on top after I've cooked it, and that it's sort of like just a fatty sauce. So yeah, I do try to keep the egg yolks runny, and I think there's a lot of benefit to that. I can't say I've done the Dom D'Agostino and fed my dog with it. So for me, yeah, it's usually, sometimes I will just scramble up eggs though. I can't say I've gotten totally into like the whole oxidized cholesterol thing. I'm doing okay so far.
I mean, I got no problem with cooked eggs. I mean, you hear the arguments, but it's like, well, how much worry about that do I really? How much should I really be concerned with that? You know, heterocyclic amines and stuff like that. It's just like, I don't know. You pick your battles, kind of a thing.
You got to pick your battles. So, yeah.
What about raw meat? You ever do some raw meat?
That's the one thing that I just haven't been convinced enough about yet, you know.
But I'm not convinced that it's better. But have you ever eaten raw meat? Like, have you ever tasted it? It's weird. Like, I start to crave it.
I've eaten raw liver. I've never done raw muscle meat, but I've done raw liver. And I don't think there's anything weird about that. I don't think there's anything strange about that. And I could see the potential benefits, but yeah, it's just one of those things in terms of like the investment versus the added benefit. I don't know if that's something I care to invest in because I'm really happy with the way things are going. So
to me, it's not. To me, it's the opposite. It's kind of like, to me, it's not even an investment. It's just like, okay, I don't even have to really cook this. I can just eat it like this, and not even have to think about it at all. Try it sometime though. You gotta have at least one little meal of some raw meat at some point, like some steak tartare, something like that. Steak tartare is great. You know, you can. What my wife did the other day, we had some tenderloin, which is, you know, it's kind of lean, so it doesn't have that much fat, but it was really good tenderloin, and it melts in your mouth raw. Oh shit! My electricity just went out. Hopefully my internet stays. This this might be over. If it's over, sorry guys, because my electricity just cut out for a second, but I still have internet somehow. Anyways, you could chop it up into little tiny bits, like little small slivers, and then you put raw egg yolk on it, and it's just so good. A little bit of salt, you mix it in there. Very nice. Highly recommended.
As long as it's properly prepared. What sort of food safety recommendations would you have for eating raw meat?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe just don't do it, I guess, for most people. But look, here's what I say. Fresh meat, right? Like when I eat raw meat, it's going to be fresh. But steak tartare, steak carpaccio. These foods have been, or not steak carpaccio, but just carpaccio. Raw meat is kind of a tradition in almost every single culture, right? Almost every culture, there's some sort of raw meat dish. Somebody says Goji Man's trying to sabotage the stream. Yeah, Dr. Gregor, he just blasted my internet out with the power of his mind.
Is that?
I'm pretty sure Dr. Gregor's behind this power outage. He might have taken out all the power in the whole country of Ecuador just to flex on us. Damn. So all right, so raw meat not happening yet. What kind of cuts do you like? What's your favorite cuts of meat? What do you keep in the rotation there?
Honestly, it's usually for me, it's either a steak or I keep it real simple and it's just ground meat. So I do a lot of ground lamb, a lot of ground bison, lots of ground beef, and as grass-fed as I can keep it. So most of the time I'm eating grass-fed, probably 80-90% of the time. But I find that to be the most convenient one if I'm cooking for myself. Now, if it's food on set, it's usually just a steak or something like that.
Can you hear me? Now I'm back. 1 second, guys. I'm going to take a 10-second intermission and just peek outside to see if I can figure out why my electricity went out. There might be something going on outside. Let me see if I have to do anything.
Gotcha. Well, while Tristan is gone, I'm going to take this opportunity to sabotage the podcast. It was me who cut the electricity off. That's who. Oh, hey.
I heard that. I'm going to tell Zordon. Wait, is there Zordon in the new Power Rangers, or is he gone? Is he out?
No, Zordon's dead and gone. He's no more.
That sucks. He was pretty cool.
He was all right. He was an all right guy. Now we've got Galvanax.
That's a better name.
It was even bigger and better, and everyone should watch.
Yeah, that's a way better name, Galvanax. That's pretty sick. So, what channel is what channel is the show on? You guys doing another season? How many seasons you had so far?
We've got 2 seasons, and it's on Netflix. So you can find it on there, and it's also on Nickelodeon on Saturdays. We're actually going to be having our 25th anniversary season finale coming up in a couple weeks. I think we're starting to get to the end of season 25. So each season is about 20 episodes. Yeah.
Wow. That's crazy. What a legacy Power Rangers. Who would have thought that, 20 years later, Power Rangers would still be chugging forward in a legacy. And it's pretty cool. You're like the main character, right? Red Power Ranger is always in the center of these pictures I'm seeing.
Red Ranger is the leader of the team by design. It's funny, the way we stand in these pictures, a lot of the time we'll just stand wherever we stand, and then the person doing the photography will be like, no, Willie, you got to go stand in the center. And I'm like, you guys are pushing this thing, man.
The blue Power Ranger gets pissed. Wait, there's no black Power Ranger anymore. Did you notice that? Where's the black Power Ranger?
It rotates depending on the season. Yeah, sometimes they'll have purple, sometimes they'll have green.
I remember the first incarnation of Power Rangers, it was like the black Power Ranger was the black dude, and the yellow Power Ranger was like an Asian girl, and like the pink Power Ranger was a white girl. It was so funny. They like color coded by race. It seems like they're not doing that anymore. There
was a video on, it was like, is Zordon a racist? Because when he was like dishing out the colors, and then they'd be like, wait a minute, are you saying that because I'm black? And he's like, no, because you represent strength and honor. And
Zordon had to backtrack. He had to explain himself. That's why he's not on the show anymore. Zordon was too racist. He got the boot. Oh, man. So
yeah, Zordon triggered too many.
He pissed too many people off. Well, I'd love to keep talking, but I'm having some technical difficulties with internet here with my entire electricity for my home. I may have to see. If I forgot to pay my electricity, I might have to literally go pay my electricity to get it turned back on. What a degenerate. What a degenerate. All right. William Shufelt, the Red Power Ranger, living it up, feeling really good on a ketogenic, carnivorous diet. My last question I want to ask about diet before we wrap it up is, like, what kind of fat sources do you eat, and how do you look for fat, right? So you're still using fat as an energy source. You eat a little bit more protein now, but are you just getting it from steaks? Do you ever add a little bit of butter? You said you don't drink butter, obviously, but do you cook your steak in tallow? Or do you ever add fats, or do you just get what's in the animal foods?
Yeah, I basically get what's in the animal foods. My whole thing is to use as much fat as possible from my own body fat to stay lean. So I'm really trying to optimize nutrient density. So I'm not consuming tons of fat. So pretty much the fat that I get comes mainly from red meat and eggs, probably mostly from eggs. I'll eat, up to 10 to 12 eggs a day. So most of my fat's coming from eggs, and a good amount comes from red meat as well.
Nice. And when am I going to be offered the position of the Green Power Ranger on the show? This is my last question.
That's coming as soon as we wrap up. That contract will be on its way when I get my chocolate.
Because, dude, once the Green Power Ranger comes on, you're kind of screwed, because the Green Power Ranger was alpha, like in the original series. You remember that? He was like the savage, and he had frills. He had like shoulder pad things. They were like golden. He was amazing, and he had long hair, I think, right? Didn't he have long hair? Jason.
Oh yeah, Jason David.
Dude, Jason. You remember his last name? See, I didn't remember his last name. Damn it. Someone says now you're the Red Meat Ranger instead of the Red Power Ranger. That's pretty cool. I like that. The Red Meat Ranger.
Sounds like something late.
All right, dude. Well, you know what? We'll have to do this again sometime, man. You got anything coming up, or like what's new on the schedule? What's everything looking like for you moving forward?
Well, let's see. So right now, I guess the things I can talk about are I'm doing a lot of appearances in terms of conventions and like meeting fans of Power Rangers, fans of the series. So lots of appearances there. The season is still on air on Nickelodeon on Netflix. So the season finale will be coming up soon. So there's all of that in the show promotion. Show's great. Go check it out. That's awesome. Actually, tomorrow I'm releasing an 8-week program based on the approach that I use to get as lean as possible for roles, for modeling, things like that. So it's pretty much my approach to training, to cardio, to fasting, to sleep protocols, things like that, and also nutrition. So I'm releasing that tomorrow, and that's at thecarnivoreshreddingprogram.com. Shredding, not shedding. So this isn't a hypothyroid program, but
the carnivoreshreddingprogram.com. The carnivore shredding program. All right, that's rad.
And then I'm working on a few more things in the health and fitness area, but those are kind of like projects that are in the works right now. So I guess people will be seeing those when they come out. You can always keep up with me on Instagram. That's where I post most of my stuff, at William Shufelt. The old German last name is Shewfelt. And then I also do some YouTube content.
All right, William Shufelt, what's your YouTube channel?
At youtube.com/Will Shufelt.
Will Shufelt.
And that's a lot of day in the life blogging and some diet info.
Fantastic, man. Awesome. All right, guys. Well, it's been another episode of Eat Meat, Make Family Stream. We got to say an emphatic thank you to Mr. William Shufelt here. And I'm sorry for mispronouncing your name earlier. I assumed it was Shewfelt. But yeah, William Shufelt, the Red Power Ranger, living it up, looking great on a carnivorous-style diet. And we want to thank you for coming on, for talking about your life. You guys can find more at, what was it? What's the name of the website again? I don't want to butcher it.
Thecarnivoreshreddingprogram.com.
Thecarnivoreshreddingprogram.com. Right on, guys. You can always find more at primaledgehealth.com. Remember, you're way more than what you eat. So get off the social media and the freaking Facebook and the YouTube and all that stuff. And go live your lives, guys. Go talk to real people. Build communities. Build real families. And go live your lives. Peace.